Now, the Minister for Immigration is under attack again this week. He has been the focal point of question time for 5 sittings in a row. He's made a number of serious blunders in this crucial portfolio, including Ministerial Direction 99, which has led directly to criminals, including pedophiles and rapists, dodging deportation. Now, as reported first on Sky News, the Prime Minister's hands are not entirely clean. Not only does he have responsibility as the leader of this inept government, but it was his department that directly instructed the Home Affairs Department to find a way to stop the deportation of New Zealand citizens who had lived in Australia for many years. This was at the behest of former New Zealand Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern. She had made the same request to the coalition government and been rightly ignored, but now Labor are in power. Sky News was first to report on the weekend that the PM's department's instruction came prior to the drafting of Immigration Minister Andrew Giles's Direction 99 in January 2023, which Labor is scrambling to revise this week. Even they realise what a mess up this is. Now, we'll get back to the PM in a second, but the Immigration Minister has again this week blamed his department after admitting he falsely claimed criminals released from detention were being monitored by drones. Giles wants to blame the AAT, the Administrative Appeals Tribunal. He wants to blame his department. He takes no responsibility for the mayhem he's helped usher in. But it's not just the Immigration Minister. Have a look at how the Prime Minister responded to the news Andrew Clennell broke on Sky News about his own department.
Andrew Clennell of Sky News has reported that following the Prime Minister's meetings with Jacinda Ardern and prior to the introduction of Direction 99, the Prime Minister's department directly instructed the Home Affairs Department to attempt to find a way to stop the deportation of so many New Zealand citizens and to, quote, fix the problem. Prime Minister, is this true?
Sky News occasionally don't get things right. I know they'll come. Usually it's at night, usually during the day, before it becomes dark, when truth sort of gets darkened as the day goes on.
Sky after dark, truth gets darkened. Does he not know Andrew Clennell's show, Sunday Agenda, is on in the morning? It's 8 a.m, Albo. I don't know what parallel universe you inhabit, but 8 a.m. ain't dark. And as for his amateur hour attacks against Sky News' primetime lineup, Albo is showing yet again he's a student activist who's fouled his way up all the way into the lodge. Joining me now is senior Herald Sun columnist Patrick Carline. Patrick, the PM's bizarro rant there does not distract anyone interested in this issue. They've made a mess of this area. They've pledged to fix it. They're going to be replacing Direction 99 in the coming days.
Well, look, I think Greg Sheridan got it right today in The Australian. He talked about Andrew Giles making an error every time he opens his mouth. And then the next time he opens his mouth, he blames somebody else for the error. I mean, this has been going on for weeks. It's put us in danger as a community. I've never seen a minister struggle for so long, and he really does need to be put out of his misery. But that's very interesting what's come out today in the last few days. The previous government pushed back against New Zealand on changing these rules. It's because of what happened in July 2022 and Albo and Jacinda Ardern that actually led to this situation now. So it's bigger than we thought it was.
Absolutely. And New Zealand has been campaigning for that to happen for some time. They don't want their criminals sent back to them. I don't know why we would be trying to appease them. It's New Zealand, for the love of God. Now, all these Labor mistakes are obviously making some within the party nervous. Nervous enough perhaps to leak stories against potential leadership rivals to Anthony Albanese. Look at this one about NDIS Minister Bill Shorten, former leader Bill Shorten. Daily Telegraph reveals he's got his own personal speechwriter costing the taxpayer $620,000 over 2 years. This is a genuine story, but it's interesting, the timing, the source is interesting, and particularly when it's definitely a story that should be told, because this is a minister with a communications department. Why does he need to be paying someone $620,000 over 2 years to write speeches? I mean, who's he speaking to? The Hague?
You know the market rate for writers, don't you, obviously, given what we do. 620 grand over 2 years is pretty good going.
How many speeches is he doing a day?
Against that, Bill Shorten, who is savvy, has sort of distanced himself from it and sort of said, well, this has nothing to do with me. But who's setting the market rate here? It's an awful lot of money.
Absolutely.
In an area that is, plagued with problems, with the NDIS and everything else. For somebody to be paid that amount of money for that sort of work just beggars belief.
Absolutely. And he's got a communication. He's got people within his own team who are capable of helping him with his speeches. Wouldn't it be refreshing if a minister wrote his own speeches, his own words? That would never happen now. That would never happen. Now to Victoria, where landlords are going to have to install ceiling installation and energy-efficient heating system, whole raft of new works that will have to be undertaken to meet new minimum standards to help improve rental conditions and keep the electricity bills down for renters. The Victorian government ministers are very excited to announce these changes.
We're here to announce today the launch of consultation on some new minimum standards.
From October next year, there'd need to be ceiling insulation, weather seals, 3-star cooling systems, 4-star shower heads, plus blind cord anchors. And once a heater or hot water system conks out, it'll have to be replaced with an energy-efficient electric option.
We're looking at annual dollar savings on tenants' bills of around $330.
They'll save renters $300 if they're right with their figures, and the Victorian government often are not right with their figures. $300 annually, but I would argue if the landlord is going to have to spend thousands, and we're talking many thousands, to meet these minimum standards, the rents are going to go up by a little bit more than $300 annually. I mean, how monstrously stupid would you have to be, Patrick, not to see this, the impact that you're going to have less rental properties available, so the rental pool shrinks, rents go up, and the landlords are going to try to pass these costs on to renters naturally.
Absolutely. And look, I mean, you can't look at this in isolation. Here in Victoria, we've got a land tax that's tripled or something like that in the last few years. The overheads for landlords have just gone through the roof.
Absolutely.
The Victorian government seems to be driven by ideology and debt. The rich people have to pay off this debt that just keeps escalating week in, week out with the big projects here in Victoria. And of course, the renters, they're the ones who are caught in the bind. I mean, in a lot of cases, they can't afford to stay and they can't afford to go because it is so difficult with the cost of living. The Victorian government is doing nothing for them on any level. And in so many ways, they're actually hurting them and making it worse.
Absolutely. Now let's go to this story from the Maldives or the Maldives. Which one do you prefer?
Maldives, I believe, is correct.
Is correct. I've been there and I still don't know what's correct. But this popular holiday destination is going to ban Israeli passports so Israelis can no longer holiday there, and thousands do from Israel every year. This is not isolated. There's a number of Islamic majority countries that ban Israeli passports, the likes of Bangladesh, Brunei, Iran, Kuwait, Pakistan, Syria, Libya, Yemen. There's others on the list. This is a bold move. This could have an impact far wider than Israel. I can imagine there'd be a lot of other people who'd say, I'll find somewhere else idyllic to holiday, not somewhere that bans Israeli passports.
I didn't realise. I think 11,000 Israelis go to the Maldives each year. And there were actually warnings starting to be introduced last year within Israel. Watch out. Take it carefully if you're planning to go there. I think in this rise of anti-Semitism that we're feeling here in Australia, if anything, this is actually a good reason not to go to the Maldives, whether you're Jewish or not, because it's obviously targeted against Jewish people across the board. It's very Islamic sort of driven in its direction. And it's actually, for me, I'd say, well, hang on, if I'm going to go here or there, I might not go there because of this.